thank you for your many blessings that we often take for granted. We come together tonight in freedom. Freedom from tyranny, genocide, persecution, violence, and starvation. Help us to never take these gifts for granted and to work to promote these freedoms for all people everywhere. We pray especially for the people of Afghanistan, those affected by the recent hurricane, and those impacted by COVID. As we approach the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, we also remember the victims of that terrible day and their families. We ask you to provide them your comfort and healing and grant them the knowledge that their sacrifices will never be forgotten. We ask all this as one people, united in the cause of freedom. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice book.
Thank you, everybody. Once again, it's a pleasure to see so many people out. Our first item of business is a proclamation honoring our fallen law enforcement heroes, and Police Chief Ken Albano would join us at the podium. What we have tonight is a proclamation, but it's not our proclamation. It's a proclamation issued by, it's a joint proclamation issued by the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Sheriff's Association. But we wanted to read it tonight because it certainly reflects the sentiments of this council as well. So in lieu of me reading it, I thought it would be more appropriate if Chief Albano was to read it. So.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't know, well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share this proclamation. I didn't plan on it being such. I shared with City Manager, and as usual, he understands the gravity of this and the importance of it to us in law enforcement and public safety in general. And so he's orchestrated this opportunity, and I am extremely grateful. According to the Officers Down Memorial page, in 2020, 371 law enforcement officers were lost nationally, with 242 of those being attributed to COVID-19. Thus far, in 2021, 248 law enforcement officers have been lost, with 137 of those being attributed to COVID-19. In Florida, last year, 12 of the 15 officers lost in Florida, 80%, were because of COVID-19. This year, thus far, 14 of the 21 officers lost are attributed to COVID-19. Over the course of the last 2 years, 11 of your 53 law enforcement officers have contracted COVID-19 in spite of our best efforts. 72% of those, 8, just within the last couple of months. So echoing what the city manager has been saying, what you said, COVID-19 is impacting all of us, some more seriously than others. So, to honor the memory of those lost and the sacrifice of those who continue to serve, the following proclamation was jointly adopted by the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Sheriff's Association and reads as follows. Whereas approximately 80,000 law enforcement, corrections, and correctional probation officers serve communities across the state of Florida, and whereas more than 220 law enforcement officers in the state of Florida in the United States died in the line of duty this year, including over 115 officers who succumbed to COVID-19, according to the Officer Down Memorial page, and whereas Florida has witnessed 21 fallen heroes this year, with 14 passing away as a result of COVID-19, and whereas law enforcement officers willingly expose themselves to COVID-19 in the line of duty and their families when they return home. And whereas law enforcement officers willingly expose themselves to COVID-19 in the line of duty, Florida Police Chiefs Association and Florida Sheriff's Association are grateful for the sacrifice of law enforcement officers who protect and serve. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty should be duly honored and remembered. And whereas the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Sheriff's Association also want to raise awareness of the specific ongoing threat to law enforcement officers as a result of COVID-19, now therefore be it resolved that the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Sheriff's Association does hereby proclaim the month of September 2021 as a month to honor law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, including those who have died from COVID-19, by wearing mourning bands throughout the month. And we publicly salute the service of all law enforcement officers in the state of Florida, passed and adopted this 31st day of August 2021 by the presidents and executive directors of both the Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Sheriff's Association. And having said that, I've provided all of council, the city manager has one of these little badges and a little band. It happens to be the thin blue line. But I would ask, and I've spoken to the mayor about it, that you would wear these when you represent the city during September, when you're just out at church during September, not just so that it would be a remembrance of the loss and the sacrifices of law enforcement, but for the 75% of our workforce nationally that can't stay home, that have to come out and serve, that have to do their jobs, specifically our healthcare workers, our firefighters, and yes, our law enforcement officers, as a conversation starter to remind people of how serious COVID-19 really is, and maybe, just maybe, influence them to do the right thing. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. I have a nice clean copy of the proclamation.
Sorry, one more.
Just a brief comment on that, if you'll indulge me. I can't pick up the paper every morning or look on the news with, and this isn't confined to law enforcement, it just so happens we're talking about that, but every day there's another officer right here in the state of Florida that's died from COVID, and most of them are young, 30s, otherwise healthy, and almost all, well, all, period. I don't think there's been an exception to this. Every single one of them are unvaccinated. And so, you know, I know there's a culture in law enforcement and fire particularly with, I'm not sure I completely understand the resistance to the vaccine. I know that there are some people that say, well, the science was rushed through, you know, it's not tested. Other people say, oh, they're putting a microchip in you. Guys, they don't need to put a microchip in you. You're carrying it around in your pocket. So please, I've made this offer publicly several times. Please contact me. At least let me buy you a cup of coffee and explain to you how the science was not shortcutted and how the FDA was able to get that through as quickly as it was, and the reason, the way that happened. It's not, it's not a big conspiracy to get you vaccinated, and I don't want to preach to everybody, but this is, people are losing their lives over inaccurate information. So, very good, thank you. Next we have a presentation, I bet you, a little lighter here. Oh, a presentation about King High School's Homecoming 2021. We have Miss Arlene Castelli from the King High School principal, and our own Eddie Vance, King High School Alumni Organization. If you guys would like to come forward.
Gwen Moore. Gwen Moore.
I'm sorry, I got bad intel. See, just like the vaccine.
I don't think she thinks she was going to talk.
I'm sorry. Welcome. I'm sorry to have gotten that wrong, and welcome home, Mr. Vance.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Arlene Castelli, and I'm the very proud principal here at King High School. And I want to start off by thanking everyone with the City of Temple Terrace. You guys have been so wonderful to us over the years. Anytime you guys have your grants that you do, we make sure that we get some in, and almost always you guys are filling those grants. So we do want to thank you. That's a huge thing for us at the school. And just like the chief was just talking about COVID's affecting us as well, between our students, our teachers, our families. So whatever it takes, we need to try to get this thing under control so we can try to get back to some type of normalcy. So we came here this evening to talk about our homecoming. We are very proud at King High School. We have a very strong alumni association. And with that, we want to brag about King High School. We want people around us to know all the great things that we do. The school does great things. Our alumni association does great things. So every year, has it been about 5-6 years that we've done the parade?
I think 5.
5 years we have done a parade, and it's a little tiny little parade that we do, and it's around the first fairway, sorry.
Okay.
At the first fairway at the country club, but they start up at the elementary school that's right there. We go around it, and then that's it. But it's just enough for our band to get out, our teams to get out, our clubs to get out, for us to get some recognition in Temple Terrace, and we're going to continue to do that. So we are doing that the week of October 7th, 8th, and 9th. And we do a lot of things. So do you want to talk about the activities that we do?
Sure.
I'll let you talk.
Good evening, everybody, and yes, thank you for having us here tonight. I am the alumni president, so that is why I am here, per se. But so the evening of October 7th, we're having the parade at 6 p.m., and thanks to the city for once again helping us with that. We've encouraged all the other local principals to share with their schools as well. That is immediately following that at 6:30 is our Wall of Pride. The Wall of Pride is our annual event that we hold, minus COVID, where we recognize all of the King alumni that made a significant impact to the community, whether it's the local community or community that they live in, or made some significant contribution just to the betterment of society. And this year we are celebrating the 60th anniversary of King, and we are recognizing 6 very important people on the evening of October 7th at the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. It is a very nice event. If you can attend, we would strongly encourage you to do so. Friday night is the homecoming game, and we are having a barbecue tailgate for the game, followed by a social at our very own Gaspars, who is also a King alumni. And then on Saturday is our 5th annual golf tournament. We have sold out the last 2 years, so we encourage anybody that is interested in playing golf to register early. It's a great time. Gwen, do you want to add anything?
I would just say that we have 24 alumni who have received the Wall of Pride. And in honor of King's 60th, we're going to add 6 more at this event. I sure hope you guys would put it on your calendars to come out and join us. We'd love to see some of you there. And it should be a nice evening. Parade, dinner, and just have some fun for a change. So thanks for supporting us.
All right, so a lot of fun activities. As you can see, we're very proud of our school. We have proud alumni. The students that graduate are very proud. We want to make them proud. We want them proud when they're attending King High School so that they will be better alumni as well. So do you have any questions about our events?
Time for the parade. I want to make sure you say
6.
that again.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And the dinner's at 6:30.
Yes. It's a very nice event.
Other questions, council members?
Okay, thank you for the
thank you for
support.
your
We
time.
appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
appreciate you guys taking the time to come and share that with us. Good. Next item on our agenda is a Board of Adjustment alternate member appointment. There's one vacancy on the... Next item is a Board of Adjustment alternate member appointment. There's one vacancy on the Board of Adjustment for an alternate member. This appointment term is from today, September 7th, 2021, until September 7th, 2024. The city received one application from John Stanley Cope. Is Mr. Cope in attendance? I do not see Mr. Cope. If the application is acceptable, is there a motion to appoint?
I move to appoint.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
No opposed, motion carries. Next item is approval of the August 17th City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved. Second.
Motion is, and a second. Is there discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Next item on the agenda is or persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do impose a 3-minute time limit on all speakers. We do ask that speakers come to the podium, state your name and city of residence. And we'd like to assure everybody that your comments are taken seriously, and we take note of them, as does the city manager and city staff in attendance. I currently have no requests to address the council. Well, this is on an agenda item, though. Unless it's on, she wrote water. I think that means on the water rate increase. That was my assumption. Tell you what, though, if she comes in and it wasn't about that, then I'll give her 3 minutes. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is a second public hearing and second reading adopting ordinance 1511 for RZP 21-03. Folio, here we go. Folio 038204. -0000 and portions of 038181-0000 and 038205-0000. Open the public hearing at this time. If there's anyone intends to speak on this matter, to stand for the oath to be administered by the city clerk.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
I'll ask the city attorney to make inquiry about ex parte communications.
I know everybody knows the drill by now, but each case is a separate record for possible future appeals or something. So if anyone here has received or participated in any ex parte communication, either written or oral, please state what that is at this time. If it was a written communication that you have received on this matter, please provide a copy of that to the clerk for the record. If you have received such communication, written or oral, please state who you had the communication with, at what time and place did that occur, and what the sum and substance of that communication was. So I will start with Councilwoman Abel.
I've had none. I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none. I've had none.
We're good. Senior Planner Gus Carpus will explain. Welcome, Mr. Carpus.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So what we have here is the second public hearing and reading to adopt Ordinance 1511, which is the rezoning application 21-03 for the property owned by Citrus Assets LLC. The applicant is Cullinan Enterprises LLC. The location of the property is located south of Temple Terrace Highway and west of Davis Road. Currently, it's zoned planned development in Hillsborough County. They're looking to rezone it, planned development in Temple Terrace. It's approximately 19.46 acres. And again, this is the property that was currently annexed into the city from the county, total of 49.5 acres. Only the 19.46 acres would be rezoned at this point in time. Here is a conceptual site plan. Again, the council will be seeing a site plan hopefully on the 21st for the entire site here, the 19 acres. At this point, we're looking at a phase 1 of about 15 acres, which would have a medical facility with residential units on it, and then a phase 2 that would contain some drainage and an out parcel that would be developed in the future by another developer. Here's kind of a elevation of a proposed look of the medical center. And these are the project facts that were presented last time around. They're looking to potentially open it at the second half of 2023. Looking to have a long-term lease with the Veterans Administration. Comparable projects have brought in about $450,000 in taxes annually. There'll be a new traffic signal put on Temple Terrace Highway, approximately 500 construction-related jobs and 300 permanent jobs once the medical center is opened. The previous actions, the city's DRC reviewed the application and had no objections. The Planning Commission reviewed it on June 10th and found it consistent with the comprehensive plan. And the City Council looked at this at their last meeting and approved the first reading of Ordinance 1511 for the approval of the zoning reclassification. And then staff does recommend approval of the second reading for changing the zoning classification for the 19.46 acres from planned development Hillsborough County to planned development Temple Terrace for the folios listed up there for that property owned by Citrus Assets south of Temple Terrace Highway and west of Davis Road. The applicant is here, well represented behind me if you have any questions.
Applicant have anything to add? Welcome.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward and Henderson. We don't have a separate presentation. We do have representatives from Cullinan here, as well as Mike Yates, our transportation expert, if you have any questions. And out of respect for your time, we'll just reserve for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member, questions for staff or of the applicant? Okay, seeing none, I will close the hearing and ask the city clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning 19.46 plus minus acres of Folio 038-204-0000 in portions of 038-181-0000 and 038-205-0000 located south of Temple Terrace Highway and west of Davis Road, from zoning classification Plan Development in Hillsborough County to Plan Development in Temple Terrace for RZP 21-03, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Good, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1511 on second reading?
I move to approve, but I want to make sure that it says Davis Road and not David. It says west of David Road. So as long as the real ordinance says Davis, I'm good. Okay,
Second.
We have a motion to approve
yes.
and a second by Councilmember Schisler. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted. So, council members, I assumed incorrectly, we did have a request to speak on items not on the agenda. I assumed by the subject that it was on the water rate increase that's proposed, but apparently it is not.
Okay.
So with your indulgence, I would press ahead until we went to the next section, but that's a long stretch. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to allow Mrs. Fernandez her 3 minutes. Okay, welcome, Mrs. Fernandez.
Good evening, council members. Sorry, I was running really late, so I just wrote water. The reason I'm here is I wanted to ask you about, City of Tampa has a project that they are discussing, and it is to treat wastewater and inject it into the aquifer. And I didn't know, since City of Tampa often excludes Temple Terrace from conversations, if they had, in fact, notified the city and brought you all in, because our water comes from aquifer wells. And I don't know how this project would actually impact our water quality and our water services. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and, ask you if you've had a chance to be notified and if you're able to weigh in, and also ask you, I personally don't think it's a good idea. My 2 cents, there are enough surface water applications that you could use treated wastewater in place of potable water irrigation to not need to put treated wastewater into the aquifer. So that is the reason I wanted to just ask you all about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fernandez. And, well, we're going to stay on the agenda, but just the short answer to that is yes, we are in the loop on that. And yes, we are connected, we're plugged in. Yeah. So next item on the agenda is a second public hearing and second reading adopting Ordinance 1508, amending Chapter 22, Article 6 of the Code, the City Code, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal. I'll open the public hearing, and Director of Public Works Operations and Maintenance, Ray LeBlanc, will explain.
Good
Welcome.
evening, Mayor, Council. I am here for the second reading of Ordinance 1508, amending Chapter 22, Article 6 of the Code of Ordinance for Solid Waste Collection and Disposal. The first reading on this item was on August 17, 2021. Staff recommends that we adopt the ordinance.
I just got the mask on, Ray. Very good. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
Man, a few words.
Council member questions?
No?
Very good. In that case, I'll close the public hearing. That's the quickest presentation you ever gave.
Wait till you get to the ordinance.
Close the public hearing, and I'll ask the city clerk to read the title of the ordinance. Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 22 of the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Utilities, Article 6, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal, by revising Section 22-336 definitions, by revising Section 22-338 collection by city, by revising Section 22-340 collection practices for solid waste, by revising Section 22-341 collection practices for yard waste, by enacting a new Section 22-342 special annual collections, by renumbering and revising Section 22-342 collection practices for recyclables, by renumbering and revising Section 22-343 collection practices for commercial collection services, by renumbering and revising Section 22-334 storing of solid waste, trash, refuse, by renumbering and revising Section 22-345 special solid waste, trash, refuse disposal, by renumbering Section 22-346 service by private hauler contractors, by enacting a new Section 22-348 shopping carts, shopping baskets, and related items, providing for authority to codify, providing for the repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt Ordinance 1508 on second reading?
Move to approve Ordinance 1508, amending Chapter 22, Article 6 of the Code, Solid Waste Collection and Disposal.
Second.
Motion is second by Councilmember Abel. Is there discussion on the motion? None. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? The nay sign. No nays. We're adopted. Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc.
Thanks, everybody, for the time spent on this. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a 4.1% adjustment to solid waste rates for residential and commercial services. Assistant Finance Director Jim Ingram will explain. Welcome, Mr. Ingram.
Good evening, Mayor Ross.
You get the pleasant job tonight, huh?
Yeah. And council. We are here to, we have a recommendation to add a 4.1% rate increase to solid waste for residential and commercial services. Section 2288 of the City Code provides for an annual adjustment of the city's waste not to exceed 5% annually. The code authorizes the city to adjust the rates based on the U.S. CPI garbage and trash collection series to more accurately reflect the city's cost of providing sanitation services. The U.S. CPI garbage and trash collection series currently reflect an average annual growth of 4.1% this year. After review of the city's customer rates and fees for disposal costs by the city staff, a rate increase of 4.1% has been recommended and factored into the fiscal year 2022 budget. Effective with the billing cycle on or after October 1st, 2021, the solid waste rates will be as follows. Increase the residential curbside collection rate from $27.10 to $28.21 per month. Increase the qualifying senior exemption residential curbside collection rate from $17.29 to $18 per month. Increase the commercial collection rates based on the trash or garbage cans from $27.10 to $28.21 per month. Increase the commercial dumpster container collection rates based on the size of the container and the frequency of the pickup each week from $63.47 at the lowest to $66.07. At the highest rate, the biggest size and the most frequency would be $1,122.30 a month, increasing to $1,168.32 per month. Do we have, we had some slides, or we don't have the slides? Okay. Apologize for that. Let's see, we did want to mention that on that, the change is based on increased operating cost, fuel and oil, as well as an increase in Hillsborough County's disposal fees. The tipping fees are the disposal is based on tonnage, and we're getting hit, the city is getting hit with a 15% increase in that this year, from around $61 per ton to $70. So that's significant. Our recommendation, staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution increasing the city's solid waste rates for residential and commercial services for fiscal year 2022 pursuant to Section 2288 of the City Municipal Code. And we'll take questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Council member questions for Mr. Ingram? None. Okay. If not, is there a motion to approve a 4.1% adjustment to solid waste rates for residential and commercial services?
I move to approve the 4.1% adjustment to solid waste rates for residential and commercial services.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilmember Abel.
We've talked about this at budget meetings, and I also spoke with city manager today about this, but looking at the increase rates from Hillsborough County at 13% and comparing that to what we're able to increase based on what our ordinances say at 4.1%, we need to discuss that because it's going to keep going up, and eventually we're going to get in a position where we can't keep up if we don't increase equivalent to what's being increased for us. So I hope we can sit down and talk about that. I just wanted to say that publicly.
Well, we certainly can. Kind of beyond the corners of this motion, but it is a discussion that we can have any time we need to have it. It can be driven by you if you prefer. I mean, if you want to bring it up at a certain time, or it can be done in consultation with the city manager, finance, however. But yeah, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Other comments on the motion? I do have, if you'll indulge me just a moment, I want to talk to the public here about this a little bit. I want the public to understand that this council is committed to keeping your costs of living in Temple Terrace at the lowest possible. We don't want to raise taxes or fees. We don't want, in fact, we want to make Temple Terrace the best, most economical place that you can live. That's our goal. We do not take rate increases lightly. And we had a lot of discussion about this, but let me explain to the public, if you give me 30 seconds. These funds, solid waste, water, which we're gonna talk about next, these funds are what we call enterprise funds. These are standalone funds. So your property taxes do not fund garbage pickup or water. The only money that goes into funding that is the money that we collect from what we collect from rates, right? These are standalone, so apart from the city budget. Within the city budget, but they're apart from it. And there's two driving factors in this particular fund. One of them, Mr. Ingram talked about, and that is that there's a 15% rate increase by the county to what we have to pay to dispose of our garbage at the incinerator. If you multiply that times the tons that we pick up a week, this 4.1 increase barely keeps pace. The second driving factor in this is we are required by accounting standards to maintain a certain amount of reserves in each of these standalone enterprise funds. And this reserve fund in this particular account has been going down over a period of years. And we're at the point where if it continues to go down, we're going to be below the accounting standards of what we're supposed to maintain in this fund. So we have to reverse that trend and start growing that reserve fund. This 4.1% increase, as Councilmember Abel correctly pointed out, probably does not go far enough to do both of these things, at least not to the extent that we need over a 3 to 5 year period. So I just don't want you to think that we're taking these rate increases lightly, that we just willy-nilly increased your costs. We do not. Ladies and gentlemen, we have put this under the microscope, and there's just no other way to do it. And I'd like to tell you, this is the last time we're going to do this for a long time, but I can't tell you that because this 4.1 is probably not going to do the trick. We're probably going to be back at this next year. So, long-winded comment on the motion. I apologize. I just trying to head off some misinformation. So. Any other comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Next item is a resolution approving a 3.4% adjustment to the rates for water, irrigation, and wastewater services. Assistant Finance Director Jim Ingram is back to explain this one.
Yes. Section 2256 of the City Code provides for an annual adjustment of the city's water, irrigation, and wastewater rates not to exceed 5%. The amended code authorizes the city to annually adjust the rates based on the U.S. CPI water and sewer maintenance series to more accurately reflect the city's cost of providing water, irrigation, and wastewater services. The U.S. CPI water and sewer maintenance series currently reflects an average annual growth of 3.4%. After a review of the city's customer rates and fees for water, irrigation, and wastewater by city staff, a rate increase of 3.4% has been recommended and factored into the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Effective with the billing cycle on or after October 1st, 2021, the water, irrigation, and wastewater rates will be as follows. Increase the water consumption rate from 2.09 to 2.16 per 1,000 gallons up to 8,000 gallons. Increase the water irrigation rate over 8,000 gallons per month from $3.48 to $3.60. Increase the wastewater rate from $10.02 to $10.36 per 1,000 gallons. Now, we have a lot of different scenarios. People have different volumes of consumption, but a typical average consumption of 6,000 gallons per month is around 83, would not, currently amounts to around $83. And with the increase, you would be paying around $2.50 per month. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution increasing the city's water and wastewater rates for residential and commercial services for fiscal year 2022 pursuant to Section 2256 of the City Municipal Code. And just one additional point on that, we are also getting hit an increase from the city of Tampa. Over the last 3 years, we've had 3%, this year 5%, I believe. So we have 11% total over that time period. It just keeps going up. And the last time we raised rates was in 2016. So I will stand for questions, or others may wish to answer.
Good. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Welcome, Mrs. Snelling.
Good evening. I wasn't planning to speak, but I just wanted to say a few words about.
We know who you are, but you have to tell the
Ellen
record.
Snelling, Temple Terrace.
Thank you.
You know, just listening to the remarks you made about the fee that's been increased and now the water fee, and there probably are other people out in the public thinking like, what is going on? I really do appreciate you all doing as much as you can to keep these fees to a minimum. And every time one of these is discussed, we hear, well, the county raised this, and then the city of Tampa raised something else. And we know that oil prices and gas prices have gone up. So that we know it's a lot of outside factors that can't be controlled. But I also want everyone to be very aware that what the county, Hillsborough County does, and the city of Tampa, as well as our state and federal government, matters, and pay attention. I mean, a lot of people are being hit. It's not just this one thing. It's not just a little bit of water increase and a waste increase. We have gas prices that are just significantly higher. You know, so I think the average person is being affected in so many ways. Food prices, construction prices. So again, I do appreciate what you all are doing and trying to keep it down, but you know, I think let's pay attention to the future in 2022. We want to make sure everyone's really fiscally responsible at all different levels of the government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mrs. Snelling. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? If not, is there a motion to approve a 3.4% adjustment to the rates for water, irrigation, and wastewater?
Move to approve a resolution to increase for a 3.4% adjustment to the rates for water, irrigation, and wastewater services.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Sisler.
Yeah, to your point, Mr. Mayor, regarding the factors that that are involved with this, the public should know that the administration staff have done everything that they can to look inside themselves, and we have external factors, but what are our internal factors that are guiding this and causing the increases? And they've done everything they can to beat our costs down. Okay, to be as economical and as efficient as they can. We've changed valves to make sure that the city of Tampa is charging us the right amount, which hadn't happened until just a couple of years ago. So they're doing everything that they possibly can to make sure that the expenses that we're generating are as cost effective as they can, so that when you deal with the external issues, the tipping fees, the water processing fees from the county, gasoline, this type of thing, they're doing everything they can to keep it low as they can, and still maintain the as you said, the escrow balance. I mean, the reserve balances that are mandated. And if it weren't, we'd be hitting for 5% every year. And it's a good deal. It's a shame, but we got to do it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sisler. Other comments on the motion? Just one thing for the public, everything I said before about the solid waste applies to this, with the exception that the primary driver of this rate increase is all of our wastewater gets pumped to the city of Tampa for treatment. We don't treat it ourselves. And the city of Tampa, as Mr. Ingram alluded to, has announced to us a 5% increase this year and every year moving forward for the next 20 years. So we can anticipate future rate increases to try to keep pace with that. And if you do the math, 3.4% doesn't do it, right? We're lacking 1.6%. So to Councilmember Abel's point, we may have to come back to this. But the primary driver in this is the city of Tampa increase in the treatment of wastewater. And to be fair to the city of Tampa, there's no villain in this. The city of Tampa needs to raise capital because their wastewater treatment infrastructure is aging and it needs to be rehabilitated and improved to meet modern standards. So over the next 20 years, they're raising capital to do what they need to do to create this, rehabilitate this infrastructure to make sure that we're environmentally sound. So there's no real villain in this. It's just the planets are aligned against us on this right now. So, okay. Any other comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the resolution passed. The next item is the first public hearing and first reading of Ordinance 1512, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 tax levy. I'll open the public hearing on both the tax levy and the budget, and Finance Director Lynn Boswell will explain.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. In accordance with the applicable provisions of the city charter and the Florida statutes, the City Council has scheduled today the first of two public hearings on the property tax millage levy. The first hearing is scheduled today, September 7, 2021, to solicit public comments on the proposed property tax millage levy prior to the adoption of the annual budget for the 21-22 fiscal year. The agenda has been structured to provide the council with the opportunity to comply with both city charter and Florida statutory requirements on the budget and tax levy. The council needs to convene a public hearing on the proposed property tax millage levy and make announcements at the public hearing prior to formal consideration of the attached resolution. The recommended property tax millage rate is 6.555 per $1,000 of assessed value, which is no change from the current fiscal year, the past few fiscal years. The recommended property tax millage rate of 6.555 is 0.3985 mils, or 6.47% higher than the rolled back rate of 6.1565. Subsequent to the adoption of the resolution, the council should take action to approve the attached ordinance approving the ad valorem tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year. If approved on first reading, the ordinance will be scheduled for second and final reading on September 21st, 2021. Recommendation is following the receipt of public comment on September 7, 2021. City Council should take action to approve the attached ordinance approving the ad valorem tax rate for the fiscal year 2021/2022. If approved on first reading, the ordinance will be scheduled for second and final reading on September 21st, 2021. I'm required to read that, I'm sorry.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? We've kind of talked this to death, didn't we? Okay, very good. I would now ask the city clerk to read the title of Ordinance 1512.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, adopting a millage rate of 6.555 mils for fiscal year 2021 to 2022, said millage rate being .3985 mils, or 6.47% more than the rollback rate of 6.1565 mils, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 1512 on first reading?
Move to approve on first reading ordinance 1512, approving the fiscal year 2021 21-22 tax levy.
Second. Motion and a second. City Attorney has a comment.
I just wanted to make sure that, and let you know that according to Florida Statute Chapter 200, you need to take this vote by separate vote.
You mean roll call vote? Okay, very good. Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Is there discussion of the motion? If not, we'll start it down on the dais.
Aye.
I approve.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ordinance is unanimously passed on first reading. Ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on September 21st, 2021. We will continue this same hearing and address first reading of Ordinance 1513, approving the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget. Finance Director Lynn Boswell will explain.
In accordance with the applicable provisions of the city charter and the Florida statutes, the first of two public hearings has been scheduled for Tuesday, September 7th at 6 p.m. to solicit public comment on the annual budget for the upcoming 2021-2022 fiscal year. Notification of the public hearing was initially provided to all property owners in the Truth and Millage trim notices provided by the Property Appraiser's Office in mid-August. The recommended budget was presented to the City Council in a series of budget workshops to review and solicit adjustments to the allocations of the budget documents. The total city fiscal year 2021/2022 budget amounts to $79,559,496. A budget summary document is attached illustrating the total budget for the upcoming fiscal year. The proposed 2021/2022 budget reflects the following: no increase in the ad valorem tax rate of 6.555 mils from its current year of 6.555 mils, a 4.1% increase in commercial sanitation rates, 4.1% increase in single-family residential sanitation rates, 3.4% in water, sewer, and irrigation rates. $496,505 is in general fund capital programs. $1,281,722 is in community investment tax fund expenditures to include replacing public safety vehicles and equipment, building improvements for fire stations 1 and 2, pool and outdoor court at the family complex, and a museum for the library. $6,383,500 in needed utility system improvements, replacements, and vehicle replacements in the enterprise, and $300,000 to purchase commercial sanitation truck and containers. There's also $2,328,000 in street, sidewalk, bicycle trail, and drainage improvements. In accordance with the applicable provisions of the city charter and the Florida statutes, the City Council has scheduled the first of two public hearings on the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual budget. After the City Council solicits public comment on the proposed annual budget, the City Council should take action to approve the attached ordinance adopting the proposed budget. The second hearing and final reading of the ordinance will be held on September 21, 2021. Staff recommends that the City Council solicit public comments on the proposed fiscal year 2022 annual budget and then take action to approve the attached ordinance on first reading adopting the proposed budget. If approved on first reading, the ordinance will be scheduled for final reading on September 21, 2021.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Council member questions?
I have a question.
Go right ahead, madam.
It pertains just to the semantics of how we're going to do a particular thing we agreed on. And I know that we've decided that we're giving all of our employees a 4% increase so a 5% increase in the budget, but 4% will go to the employees and 1% reserved to work on the succession problem. So my question is, and I don't know how do the different departments, you may have someone who is at level 1, but obviously their skill, they're coming up, but to move up to 2 is not the same as in a different department. So is that also a factor in how these will be applied. I was talking to someone who does not work for the city, and they were like, man, we went through this, and it was a big issue in our company. We really had to go through a big study. And so I thought, well, I don't know what we've gone through. And we had talked about that before. What, is this a process now? And do we know how long it will take before the monies are distributed? Those are just some questions that I had not thought of before.
I think we unanimously approved Mr. Sisler's recommendation to give the city manager and his staff the first quarter
Okay.
to come up with this plan, because you're right, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
But I don't think he's gonna have the answer to that question tonight.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Okay, and so I wanted to rehear that.
Yeah.
Thank you. But then I guess the other issue would be, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to verbalize this because I don't work in all these departments. But, I mean, you have somebody who's now making $15 an hour, and they just go to work and do their job. And then the person above them who manages 4 or 5 employees, but is not a director or even a different level. Maybe they're only making $15 now as well. So is that going to come into play, like their responsibilities, as opposed to everybody just gets 50 cents more an hour? Or, are we going to be apprised of that in any way, or?
Yeah, I think it was Mr. Schisler's, Councilmember Schisler's plan that we are apprised of this by the end of the first.
Okay, in order to put it in place, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Handled in an equitable fashion.
But yes, you're echoing all the same things
Okay.
that I've been saying for a very long time.
I know, but I needed to get it said tonight before I said yes. So, I mean, I approved this budget. I think it's a great budget. We've done a lot of work on it. Staff has done an amazing job. This is a wrinkle that has a big implication for a lot of people who have responsibilities that may, just want to make sure that's reflected in their pay increase. So, thank you for allowing me that question.
Good. Is there other discussion on the motion? City Attorney, I assume this is a roll call vote as well? Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? If not, Councilmember Abel.
Did we make the motion?
Need a motion first.
I thought we had a motion. Did we not?
I just started asking a question.
Holy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm all goofed up.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, hold on here.
He's gotta read it.
The mayor's going to get his feet back on the ground here, don't worry. So, council members, are there other questions on the budget? I've got my place back now. Okay, if not, I'll ask the city clerk to read the title of ordinance 1513.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, adopting the final operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021, and ending September 30th, 2022, and the capital improvement budget, giving notice of the public hearing thereon, authorizing the city manager to issue such instructions as are necessary to achieve and accomplish the service programs, authorizing the city manager or the finance director to transfer monies among the departments and programs within any fund, authorizing the city manager or finance director upon receipt of a donation or grant to appropriate said funds in the expenditure line of the program as requested by the donor grantor, providing a severability clause effective date and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 1513 on first reading?
I move to approve
Second?
first reading of 1513.
A motion and a second. Now, is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Schisler, Councilmember Schisler.
Comment, and this really is for the other one, but it's general for Lynn. I know I did this last year, but when you come back next for the 21st reading, could you give a 30-second description of what the rollback means? We know, but we're kind of geeky about this, and I'm sure there's a lot of public that do not understand what the rollback means. But for not for this meeting, for the next one. Otherwise, I'm done.
Other discussion on the motion? If not, Councilmember Abel, we'll start at your end.
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimously passes. Ordinance 1513 is passed on first reading and will appear for second reading and public hearing on September the 21st, 2021. I'll now close this public hearing. Next item on the agenda is a resolution awarding the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project, Phase 2 construction to Dallas Corporation. Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch, will explain. Welcome, Mr. Tinch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate everyone being here tonight. A little bit of a thin crowd in the back. Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director. I'm here this evening to seek approval to award construction of Phase 2 of the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project to the Dallas One Corporation. In May of this year, we released an invitation to bid. Received 8 bids for this particular project. Dallas One came in at the lowest bid for the proposed work. We then did our due diligence, looked into Dallas One, made sure that they were a good, reliable corporation, which of course they are, and we're moving forward with that selection for this particular project. If I could have the slide pulled up for me, please, thank you. So what you can see here is the areas in red, the lines in red, those are all the rear easement locations for water lines. And this is very similar to Phase 1, where we, again, are going in, we're decommissioning those lines that are in the rear easements that are very hard to get to, very difficult for maintenance purposes. We're bringing those water lines out front. In addition, a lot of those lines that you see in red, a lot of those existing water mains, they are 4-inch. So we're going to a standardized 6-inch water main with all the proposed improvements. So that doesn't do anything to the pressure. I think a lot of people are always concerned about that. Am I going to see more pressure? Is this going to cause problems? No, but what you will see is an increase in volume. And so what that means for the folks in our firefighting department is when they are fighting a fire, they have that additional volume. So it does represent a life safety component. So that's obviously very, very important. But this is a generalized area. Again, this is Phase 2 of a 3-phase project. We hope to have Phase 3 rolled out this year, later this year, fiscal year. The fiscal year upcoming. I feel like we're already in fiscal year 22 with all the budget talks. So anyway, we're looking to move forward with this project in hopes of, again, having everything budgeted and ready to go for Phase 3. So that said, staff recommends City Council approve the expenditure of $729,966.45 to the Dallas One Corporation for the construction of Phase 2 of the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project to be paid from account number 410-1922-533.63-32. I'll stand for questions if any.
Thank you, Mr. Tinch. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Mr. Tinch? Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you. A question, when you abandon the current water lines, you just leave them alone? You don't do anything but maybe cap them?
The 6-inch lines, we try grout, what they call grout fill. So it's a type of flowable fill material, looks almost like liquid sand that we pump into those lines so we don't leave those voids in those backyards. You wouldn't really have an issue with it creating something large, but what could happen over time is if you had several hundred feet of 6-inch water line and it was to leak, you could get a little bit inflow of soil from around that area and eventually cause a small depression. So the intent is to pump that flowable fill into those abandoned water lines so that there will be no voids left for that for water or soil to seek.
And that's part of this job?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Schisler.
How long do you expect this to take?
The last time, the big hang up with a lot of these projects is material, especially right now. What we see with materials is it takes, the lead time on it used to be a month or two, now it's 4 to 5. So I would think we would see actual construction period, probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months at most. That's about how long it took us to get through Phase 1. But it probably won't actually start turning dirt for several months, probably the first part of next year, before we actually see someone out there turning dirt, if you will.
Okay, all right, so they'll tear up the yards then.
That's right. And of course, as with last time, there's money in here for the reestablishment of all those lawns. Any damage that's done, all that will be reestablished.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Tinch? Very good. If not, is there a motion awarding the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project Phase 2 to Dallas One Corporation?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Chambers, second by Councilmember Schister. Councilmember discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution passes. Next item is a resolution awarding the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project Phase 2 Construction, Engineering, Administration Services to CPH Inc. Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch will explain.
Good evening again. Your Honorable Mayor, City Council, Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director. I'm here this evening to seek approval to award construction, engineering, and oversight for Phase 2 of the St. Augustine Water Main Replacement Project to CPH Incorporated. CPH Inc. is the engineer of record for this project. They designed it. It's very commonplace for us to bring in the engineer of record during the construction phase to assist with oversight of the project, to assist with any shop drawings that may come in, any potential changes, field changes that needed to be made, that would need to be made. We've done this on multiple other projects. We did this most recently with SA, if you'll recall. We brought in Kimley Horn to provide construction oversight. It's very commonplace for us to do that. Helps augment our staff to fill those kind of gaps that we don't necessarily have currently with our staffing. So that said, staff recommends the City Council approve the expenditure of $39,967.96 to CPH Inc. for the technical construction oversight of Phase 2 of the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project to be paid from account number 410-192-535.63-32. I'll stand for questions if any.
Good, thank you, Mr. Tinch. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Mr. Tinch. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion awarding the St. Augustine and Live Oak Water Main Replacement Project Phase 2 Construction, Engineering, Administration Services to CPH Inc.?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with nay. Motion passes. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Tinch. Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving the Southwest Florida Water Management District License Agreement for the new Treetops Sanitary Sewer Force Main Alignment. Once again, Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch will explain.
Well, good evening again, Your Honorable Mayor, City Council. Maybe I'll put my glasses on.
Yeah,
Look like a different person now. Problem is they're readers and I can't see anyone when I do that. So we're here this evening to seek approval to approve a license agreement for a proposed project along the Harney Bypass Canal. This project's actually associated with the next resolution that I'll be presenting for construction. In general, what we're looking to do is enter into a license agreement with the Water Management District to allow for the construction of a new force main. If I could have there we go, thank you so much. So the area in red that you can see on the screen, that is the proposed realignment of the force main from lift station Treetops to west to Master Lift Station SB. And as you can see, its previous route took it very circuitously through the Riverdale subdivision. Well, over time, that route and that pipe, that force main, which is always under pressure, has started to fail on numerous occasions. And since we were going in, or will be proposing to go in, I should say, and rehab Treetops Lift Station, we thought maybe this is a good time to look at that alignment and maybe see if there was something maybe a little more direct. So we did indeed do that. We found a more direct route to the Master Lift Station. We did have quite a number of months, even years. I worked with the Water Management District on this. I think legal can attest to that, trying to get this eventually pushed through. We did get to this point now where we're we are looking to enter into that license agreement. And a license agreement is a fancy name for an easement, if you will, that will be granted to the city more or less in perpetuity as long as the pipe is there and we have a need, that agreement will be in place. So that said, staff recommends the city council approve the execution of a license agreement with the Southwest Florida Water Management District for the construction of the Treetops sanitary sewer force main. And I should note that there is no financial implications to this project.
Good, thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Mr. Tinch? Councilmember Abel.
I have a question. It's just about that map. I looked at the city boundary maps recently, and I thought that neighborhood was outside of the city boundaries, but our lift station is inside city boundaries, or?
The lift station is actually outside of that, so we have two different boundaries. We have the jurisdictional boundary of the city of Temple Terrace, the city proper, I guess, if you will. We also have what we call the service area. So the service area for water and sewer extends far beyond our current city limits. For instance, we go beyond 75, we go to the east, pretty much hug the city line to the west. To the north, I think we have some slight deviations there. And then to the south, we have some other deviations where we actually extend beyond current city limits. So that lift station, the master lift station, the proposed realignment, those are all within our service area. They're just not within jurisdictional city of Temple Terrace.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thank you for that clarification, yes.
And just to further edify that, we have portions of our city that are in, for instance, the city of Tampa's service area. So they don't always correspond to the Councilmember
When
Schiss.
was that line put in?
Oh, the line has not been established yet.
No, the old one,
I'm sorry,
the old line.
Oh, 1985.
Okay.
So it is,
Okay.
both the station
Those-
and the force main have exceeded their life expectancy.
When that was put in, those houses weren't there, were they?
I
Riverboat?
think it was put in while the houses were constructed. The force main was designed as part of that development.
Other questions for Mr. Tinch? If not, is there a motion to approve the Southwest Florida Water Management District License Agreement for the new Treetops Sanitary Sewer Force Main Alignment?
Move to approve the Swift Mud License Agreement.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, a nay sign? No nays. Resolution is adopted.
Now,
Next.
this one comes with money.
Yes.
Yeah, bring us more that don't cost anything. I like that. Resolution awarding the rehabilitation of the Treetops Sanitary Sewer Lift Station and construction of a new corresponding force main. Once again, Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch, is here to explain.
Again, good evening, Your Honorable Mayor, City Council, Troy Tench, Public
Yeah,
Works
overtime.
Utilities Director.
Put a mustache on it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here this evening to seek approval to award construction of the Treetops Sanitary Sewer Lift Station and corresponding force main to Danish Utilities. In July of this year, we advertised invitation to bid 21-010 and received 5 bids on this project. Danish Utility, of course, being the lowest. You may recognize that name. Are most currently working on SA, our master lift station, which I'm happy to tell you is online. And they are going through the final stages to close that project out. So very excited about that. That was definitely a thorn in the city's side for the better part of 10 years. So that station is live and it looks great as far as a lift station can look. But anyway, this is, we've worked with Danish on that. We also worked with Danish Utilities on A Station. So we have a little bit of a history there. We're very pleased with the products they generally provide, and we're looking forward to potential to work with them again. Again, this lift station and the force main were built in 1985. Typically, after about a 20-year stint, you want to look at rehabbing your lift stations. After about a 30, 40-year stint, you want to look at doing the same with your force mains. If I could have the slide pulled up for, there you go. Again, you can see the location of the Treetops lift station. You can see the location of proposed force main. One of the nice things about rerouting that force main is it takes it offline. Right now, it connects into a larger force main on Harney Road. We will literally be connecting directly to the master lift station. As you guys are aware, there's a larger development going on just a little bit east of there, 2 of them. So it frees up some additional space in that force main for those projects. And I think it's a good project all the way around for the city. Really excited about potentially getting in there and getting that done. That said, staff recommends the city council approve the budget expenditure of $760,925.00 to Danish Utilities, Inc. for the rehabilitation of the Treetops station and construction of the corresponding force main, which is to be paid out of account number 430-3899-535.63-33. I will stand for questions, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Tinch. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Mr. Tinch? Questions? Seeing none, is there a motion awarding the rehabilitation of the Treetops Sanitary Sewer Lift Station and construction of a new corresponding force main to Danish Utilities, Inc.?
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Tinch.
Seated.
Next item is a resolution approving the acceptance of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds established under the American Rescue Plan Act. City Manager Charles Stevenson will explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. A couple weeks ago, we were looking for the agreement and the documentation to start applying to get the recovery funds under the American Rescue Plan. As of a couple weeks ago, we have been in receipt of that. I think each of you got a copy of that. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read it. I haven't heard any comments back. I know legal hasn't responded back with any issues with that agreement as well. The agreement consists of the city of Temple Terrace being allocated $13,342,240 under that Rescue Plan Act that was initiated by President Biden under House 1319 and labeled the American Rescue Plan Act. These funds are strictly limited, if you would, to 4 different categories. One is to respond to a public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 or its negative impact to the economic viability. The second is to respond to workers performing essential work during COVID-19 with public health emergencies for eligible workers. Third is for the provision of government services to extend the reduction in revenue, which is something that we're working on getting a solid number on right now. And the fourth is to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Mr. Tinch and Mr. McCarthy and I have recently started to put together a list of projects that we think would be eligible projects under the expenditures for the rescue plan. The plan gives us half the money this year. As soon as we get this agreement back to them, they'll start making provision to disperse half of it. The other half comes in July of next year, according to what we're hearing. So the resolution before you is just to accept those funds. Obviously, I think that is well suited for us to get some projects done. Otherwise, we do have the ability to have a discussion. I think last week I had mentioned to each of you, or asked each of you, if the 21st, a workshop before the next meeting would be acceptable. I have not heard back from all of you, so that's kind of one of those things that I still need to do so that we can schedule a workshop if that date is suitable for everyone, so that we can have some discussion on how this body wants to spend those funds. So the resolution before you again tonight is to get the agreement executed so that we can get the ball rolling with getting our distribution. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Very good. Is there a motion to approve the acceptance of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds established under ARPA?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the city to participate in the state's memorandum of understanding proposing a plan to abate and resolve the opioid epidemic and authorizing the city manager to execute all agreements for the use of the opioid settlement proceeds. City Attorney Pam Shoshone will explain.
Thank you. As you may or may not know, the state of Florida, as well as the federal government and other cities throughout the country, have engaged in litigation with certain companies regarding the opioid crisis. So we've been referring to this as the opioid litigation. Over much time, the attorneys who have been representing the government agencies have been negotiating settlements in the various cases. More than one is going on. The city of Temple Terrace is not a named party in any of these lawsuits. However, we do stand to participate if we approve this memorandum of understanding. We stand to participate in the distribution of settlement proceeds when they come. This increases, our participation would increase the amount that the state of Florida gets, and that would be more for everyone in the state. This is not something where we're going to see a great deal of money here. I believe there was a schedule that was attached to the Memorandum of Understanding that was in your background materials. It's a rather large document. The Plant City is also not a named participant in the litigation, but the Hillsborough County is, the city of Tampa is. Plant City did enter into this Memorandum of Understanding in June. Hillsborough County's board, I believe, considered it on September the 1st. Let's see. We are recommending that also the money is not going to be coming anytime real soon, so you know, this isn't something that we're budgeting for. We're not sure when this is going to come in, but we are recommending that our council approve our participation in the MOU and authorize the city manager to execute this, as well as any other documents that come. The expenditure of the money is restricted, and it needs to be, and I believe, I'm not sure to date, the fire chief and the police chief have been provided with copies of this, and I believe that the fire chief already has plans for these funds when and if we get them. So.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Welcome, Mrs. Snelling.
Evening again, Ellen Snelling, Temple Terrace. This, I think, is great. I suggest you approve it. As you know, I'm the chair of the Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance. I was at some of the meetings when they were talking about for the county to go through this lawsuit. These companies should have been sued for their participation in this epidemic. My brother died from an opioid overdose 5 years ago from fentanyl. So I would like to put, myself forward as, if you all do develop any kind of a task force where you want citizens' input on how to spend the money, specifically on prevention, because I know when I read through it's prevention and treatment, because I definitely have some ideas on how we can do better prevention in our schools, because an opioid or heroin fentanyl overdose, someone doesn't wake up and think, oh, I'm going to start using heroin and overdose. I mean, it starts a lot of times as a child dabbling in marijuana, alcohol, those kind of things. So the more we can do to keep our children off of all of those drugs, at least till age 18, the more we are able to prevent overdoses and deaths later on. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw some other hands out here. Very good. Well,
Good
for the
choice.
record, are there other members of the public who wish to comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, council member questions?
No.
Question for the city attorney.
She answered all my questions.
I do have one quick one. And when the second part of this is authorizing city manager to execute all agreements, I assume that's kind of routine paperwork, but will we be, I say we as a council, will we be in the loop when these funds are received to approve the expenditure, discuss the expenditures before the expenditures are made?
I don't believe that that is a requirement of this memorandum of understanding, but certainly now that we've heard you want to be, and the city manager has heard this too, obviously, that could be, that could certainly be done. So
Give me a ballpark of how much money we're talking about. I don't think it's that much.
I think it's under $30,000. So, and the money is to be paid over in one of the lawsuits, the payments are to be paid over a 10-year period. And in another one, they're to be paid over a 7-year period. That's why I said they are not coming soon or quickly. And let's see. And in the J&J proposed deal, the proposed deal is over in 18 years, and the amount paid varies depending on subdivision. We're a subdivision, participation, and whether other subdivisions file opioid-related litigation in the future. Okay. So chances are this council will not be here.
We're going to get $19.99 a month for a while.
So
right.
if
Don't
this
spend it all in one place, Chief.
If this is something that you want a future council to be involved in, then I would say that we could add that to this resolution in hopes that that somebody follows through on that.
Well, I'll defer to my colleagues. I was originally thinking that until you pointed out that this is going to be paid over so long. I mean, it's not going to be, whoever's sitting up here is going to be dealing with this I just don't see any point in that. I don't know about.
It does.
And before you vote on this, I did want to point out, as I was looking at it again, on the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the fifth whereas clause, in the version that's attached to the agenda, I see a typo in the first line. The words sets forth are there twice. So if in making the motion to approve, it would be to also amend this and make the correction. Then the clerk and I don't have to do it later and bring it back to you.
Okay. Councilmember Schuster.
I do have one thing. I realize that the money's going to come dribble in over whatever time frame, but I would like to, while I support whatever we do with this, encourage the chief of the fire chief and the police chief as they develop what they want to do to reach out to the community members, like Ms. Snelling with the drug prevention initiatives that are going on, to not necessarily coordinate, but get input. You know, I don't want to make it a requirement, but I think it's a very good opportunity for other community-driven organizations and initiatives to help coordinate and utilize this without, I don't want to bog the process down, but we have the offer, we have the expertise, and they can certainly participate and help out with that. That would be my only hope. And I don't want to make a part of the resolution a requirement, but that would be the hope of what I think that they could do going forward.
Correct. I made a note to include Elling in any discussion that Ian comes up with, so we'll make sure that happens. And as far as bringing things to council, we'll certainly keep you abreast of what's going on with it. I really don't anticipate a whole lot of this, but I do know that my discussions with the fire chief, they're currently doing some of this now.
Yeah.
That would really just kind of be a reimbursement of some funds for programs that they already have in place.
Yeah, we're not talking about enough money to put a lot of restrictions on this. Okay. Is there a motion authorizing the city to participate in the state's memorandum of understanding, proposing a plan to abate and resolve the opioid epidemic, and authorizing the city manager to execute all agreements for use of the opioid settlement proceeds? And please, in your motion, remember to include the Scribner's corrections that the city attorney mentioned.
I move to approve the motion to authorize the city to participate and that the resolution be revised, corrected this evening.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is that
Is that sufficient?
specific enough for you? Yes. Okay, very good. Motion is second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you. Council business. Is there any other carryover business from previous meetings? Carryover business. New business and board reports. Councilmember Chambers.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm the liaison on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. And one of the big focuses of the council is resiliency on rising seawater and the effects it has on infrastructure and certainly the climate change. And as we saw this past week with storms getting worse and worse, you know, New York had a 500-year flood. You know, our planning, I believe, is at a 100-year level, but those are being exceeded. What the Regional Planning Council is going to host a summit at the end of January, January 27th and 28th, on resiliency of this area. And I don't know the details of that yet. I know I get to go, but I would like if there is allowed to have some members of our staff, member of the staff to go, because it's planning in the whole region for bad weather events and just what we're talking about. So I'd like that to happen, and I'll pass on the details when I know more on that. And the second item, it's not a board report, but just to echo King High Homecoming. Let's try to get people to come out to the parade on that Thursday at 6 o'clock. It's fun, and the King High Marching Band's fantastic, and everybody loves a parade, so let's get people out. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Chambers. Good. Any other new business or board reports? I have one thing, actually, one thing I need your guidance on here. Some time ago, recently, we have talked about our revising our lien reduction protocol, our process. And there, if you recall, the last conversation we had was because there was a petitioner in front of us who was a new owner, and he bought the place, and then construction costs soared, and there was a whole discussion at the code board, and then again with us about that. And so there's a few things that I think, I told you I would come back to you, and I'm coming back to you. There's a few things that I think could be improved upon, and I've worked since that meeting a month or two ago with our legal staff and the city attorney and our chairman of the code board to try to come up with some ideas of how to streamline this. And there's a few things that we hope to accomplish. And one is, I think our process takes too long. It's just too cumbersome. I mean, people have to come, they have to go before the code board, which can take you over a month to get on there, depending on your timing. That can take over a month. Once you get the recommendation of the code board, then you have to come before the city council, which, depending on the timing, could take, again, another month. So there was a case not too long ago where people came, the petitioner, the property owner, came from Canada to make their case before the code board, thinking that that was it, only to find out at the end of the meeting that they would need to come back before the city council, which they couldn't afford to do. But they said, oh my gosh, I just paid all this money to come down here from Canada to make my case in front of. So timeliness, I think we really, it's just slow. It takes forever. The second thing is some of the legal considerations is, and with no malice, the code board often ventures into, and the city council does too. We do it too. I do it. We all do it. We sometimes venture into criteria that we really shouldn't be. They're not legal criteria. We start asking stuff that this isn't something that we're supposed to even be considering. You know, what color are you going to paint the house kind of stuff. So we get into trouble with that. Number three is some jurisdictions, I've talked to some of our local counterparts in other cities, and some jurisdictions have what they call compliance agreements, which enables people like the previous petitioner that I referred to come to the city and determine ahead of time, before they buy a distressed property, what the city, if anything, what the city is willing to take as a reduced amount, and what are the conditions of that they would have to bring the property into compliance within X number of days from closing and those types of things. Right now, for anybody who buys a property, whether they're gonna live in it or sell it or rent it, it's a roll of the dice. You never know what the code board's gonna do or what the city council's gonna do. You don't know. So and that tends to discourage people from wanting to buy these distressed properties when they don't know what we're gonna do. And number 4 is the code board, by ordinance and state statute, is not allowed to stray into other debts that people might owe to the city. So they might come and petition for a lien reduction, and the code board starts asking, well, don't they owe us $2,000 in water bills? Well, the code board can't venture into that because it's beyond the scope of their authority by statute and ordinance. So there's a lot of things that I think could be repaired, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to propose to you that we revise our ordinance governing this process and take this settlement negotiation, which is really what it is. It's a settlement negotiation. They're making an offer and we're deciding whether we want to take their offer or counter offer or whatever the case may be. I'd like to take this and give it to our legal department to do this in collaboration with city manager and code compliance, right? Everybody's got to kind of get around the table and say, what do you think is fair on this thing? And give them the ability to do this in a more timely fashion, give them the ability to create compliance agreements so that people know when they buy distressed property what the city's willing to take and what they have to do. And if they don't do it, it reverts back to the original amount, just like it would now. But under our current code, they can't even apply until they buy the house and repair it. We won't even accept an application unless the property's been in compliance for 35 days. So for all these reasons, I would like to put before you at a future council meeting a proposed ordinance revision. Now, the reason you don't have it now is because I can't, and I wouldn't presume to even if I could, I can't give work direction to our staff to create this ordinance revision, which of course is going to take a little time for them to do that. But we have met, I say we, city attorney and I have met, we met together as a group with the city manager, the code board chairman to discuss these ideas, and right now there's consensus on this for a variety of reasons. And so there we are. I need to know what you want to do because I don't want to give them work direction. Now, you would, if you said, yeah, go ahead, there would be an ordinance which would appear for 2 readings, so we would have the opportunity to say, well, I don't like paragraph 2C, or, I mean, this isn't, I'm not asking you tonight to give carte blanche to something, so. Yes, Vice Mayor.
So this compliance agreement would only apply to someone buying a distressed property or one that has a lien against it?
Correct.
This is no way changes any of the other situations that come before the board?
The compliance agreement would apply to potential buyers of properties. They may even be, I mean, it would only be potential buyers. We wouldn't have any need to get into a compliance agreement with the current owner.
Well, why not? If all of a sudden, I'm the owner with my cousin who's lived in the house for all these years, and I'm the owner, and all of a sudden we've had this come before us. Hey, I let my cousins live in the house, and I didn't know he wasn't, whatever, closing the door. I mean, whatever it was.
Sure.
Is there would it not apply to someone like me, the owner? I say, hey, okay, I just realized I have this huge, I don't want to sell this house, but what do I need to do to get away from this lien? Would it not apply to the current owner
Yeah, I
as
see
well?
what you're saying, sure, yeah, and I see what you're saying.
Not
Yes,
just-
we're getting at the same thing, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that group then, once that happens, once you have that in your hand, the idea would be that you pay the bill, you do the work, and then you pay the bill, and you're done. We don't have to hear it, they don't have to go before anybody else. They've gone through this
Yes,
compliance.
but you have to do the work.
Oh, yeah, you
get
have
it
to
into
clean it up,
compliance, yes.
paint it, put a roof on it, whatever it takes.
Correct,
Turn the fence around, whatever that may be.
correct.
Okay, I like the idea. I would definitely agree with you that we can only do this by creating this change to our ordinance. And just like was mentioned earlier tonight, there are some changes to our rules and regulations that need to happen. And I'm glad you're taking this one forward. I do remember us talking about this. I mean, there are other issues in code that we probably need to address, but this is the one that continues to come before us. And, I do question the people who say, oh, I didn't know there was a lien. Like, how did you get the loan,
That's really the wrong
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
though. I mean, that's
Yeah,
irrelevant.
I know.
The lien is there.
I agree. So but I like your idea, and I would like to agree with you, however you want to put this forward after we have lots of discussion here, or any more discussion, that in order for us to move forward, we have to agree as a body, and I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
Yeah,
that's why
no, I
I didn't tell
agree.
them to do it.
Yeah.
Councilmember Reagan.
I agree too. I think that needs to happen. But I was wondering about the current process of notifying buyers of liens on distressed properties. Is it just sort of haphazard, or is there a method in place right now for that?
We're not in the business of notifying buyers, that's their, right? This whole thing about whether they know or they don't know, in some cases, they have to know. In other cases, they buy it on the courthouse steps, maybe they don't know.
Mhm.
But really, at the end of the day, that's kind of irrelevant. Because whether they know or not, here we are. And to say that, well, you bought the house, well, yeah, you bought a house that's worth $80,000 and it's got $200,000 worth of liens on it. I mean, how does it benefit anybody for us to say, all we do is make that house unsellable? If we don't, and how does that benefit the neighborhood or the city? So,
Agreed. So help me understand the process that you're talking about, though. So in this instance of, so I guess the thing that I don't understand is, how is this going to, what exactly is going to change in just like 5 words? Like,
instead of going to the code board for a recommendation and then coming to us for a final approval of that recommendation, this will go to legal, who's already in the business of settling or negotiating settlements for other stuff. Right? Legal will develop an amount that the city manager will concur with, or, it has to be in collaboration with the city manager. So we will get a quarterly report so that we have some oversight. If we're not happy with what's going on, we will know. But it will not come to us, because then we're right back where we started. We're slowing the process down, we're putting the politics back in it, so we'll take some of the benefits that we're trying to achieve will go away if we make it come to us each time.
right, so the idea is to expedite the process and streamline the process.
Expedite the process, make it more legally, what's the right word, legally
Consistent.
defensible, I guess would be a good word.
Yeah.
To create the idea of compliance agreements for potential buyers, and to be able to roll in other debt that they might owe the city, because the city attorney can incorporate that in the negotiations, the code board can't. So if they have outstanding fees for building permits, red tags, stop work orders, water, sewer, the code board can't, and they want to, go to their meetings, and they're dying to ask these questions, and they can't. But she can.
Got it.
And she can say, well, I'll tell you what, you owe us $5,000 over there too, you owe us this money here, you haven't paid for your trash pickup. Let's talk about all of this in one, and let's erase all of this in one deal. Councilmember Chambers.
I was going to say, I support the idea of assigning staff the workload. So that was your initial thing. And I support the concept, but I got to see the ordinance.
Me too.
Yep.
Councilmember Sisler.
So then are you saying that you would remove, this would overall remove the process of going to the code board for the lien reduction period?
That's correct.
I'm in favor of that. Okay, good. Okay.
Now, let me be clear. I think we have consensus on giving that direction to craft an ordinance for our consideration at a future council meeting. Of course, that'll have to be read twice. We'll obviously have opportunity to, because none of us have seen it, and it's not even, it doesn't exist. I also want to be clear, just on the record here, this is not the mayor hogging all the credit here. I mean, this has mostly been driven by the legal department. The city manager has rolled up his sleeves and been involved. Tom Baroni's been involved. David Bagorlich has been involved. So this was something that, yes, I wanted to hope to accomplish, but this wasn't just me. I don't want to create that. So, okay, we good? You know what to do. All right. Thank you. Next item is easy. This next Saturday at 9/11, ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of memorials across the area. There is a memorial taking place at Mission Barbecue on Bruce B. Downs, just north of Fletcher. I think the actual ceremony starts at 11:30. I was at this one last year. A lot of elected officials, Mayor Castor was there last year. A lot of the Tampa City Council, county commissioners were there. They do a really nice, very patriotic, short program, but it's very nice. So I'd invite members of the public to come out. Certainly would like to see any of my colleagues there if you can make it. So that's all I have. Any other new business board reports? City managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things just to bring a note to council. We have advertised the property that the old Steak and Ale sits on. We have gotten 2 interested parties that are now working on letters of intent. We're hoping to have this advertisement window that we are required to do done here in October. And it's being advertised right now. As a matter of fact, it's been up for a week already. But we're looking to do a special CRA meeting on October 19th. We'd like to do that at 5 p.m. if that date works for everybody. And what we'll do is do a CRA meeting and a presentation of the 2 proposals, and then bring it to council for determination of what you want to move forward with.
Good with me. I don't know about the rest.
I'm good.
October 19th.
I'm good.
Okay, we'll get,
Councilmember Abel?
Yes, I'm good too, thanks.
You're good? Everybody's good? I'm
I
trying
got
to
a thumbs up.
put it on my calendar while I'm talking. I'm sorry. Everybody's good?
So 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock?
5 p.m. That'll give us an hour to do 2 presentations.
You want to try to nail down that workshop date that you were talking about earlier too?
That was my next
All right,
item.
Well, we've got our calendars out, so.
We're looking to do it maybe on the 21st before the next council meeting.
This is to discuss rescue plan.
This is the rescue plan and projects that we're trying to align with that. Obviously, revenue is top of the list. So
I'm good. I have it on my calendar.
we've got several eligible projects that we can look at.
5 p.m. Tuesday, the 21st.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Councilmember Abel, you're all right? Okay. Okay.
And one other thing, Councilman Donahue, you mentioned some changes that are needed to the rules and regulations.
I think she's talking about the ordinance about how much we can increase per, isn't that what you were speaking of?
I thought-
Same issue that Councilmember Abel.
Okay.
I think that's.
I didn't
So
know
that,
whether I
that we
missed
know
something.
that we're going to have that conversation to get it squared away. Maybe the use of rules and regulations was not correct. It should have been ordinance.
I didn't want to miss something
Yeah.
that I was supposed to be doing.
No.
Okay.
I understood it to mean the
Yeah.
ordinance capping.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. City Attorney's report. Nothing tonight. Any other business to come before the council? Council members, anything? Anything at all? Directors? Good job tonight, finance. I know it's a tough time of year for you. You did a good job. Good job tonight too, Troy. I know you, a lot of big projects on your plate there, so thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.